if everything is set and the live streaming is start in a minute. Great. So that's good. Now we are live. And yeah, sure, Luca. I will share the records. Of course, I do the live streaming, and I expect that the video will be recorded in my YouTube. I have just shared my YouTube channel in the Telegram group. But if there is any encryption in the video or if there is anything goes wrong with that live stream videos, then yes, sure. I will share the video in a Google Drive that Digital Futures sent to us. But of course, if we put aside about the record, I will share all the templates. I will share all the files and templates that we are working on them in this workshop in the Google Drive. So no worries about those. You're welcome. Okay, let me share my screen and just give me feedback if you have my full screen, and then we will going to start our presentation. Now, would you confirm that you have my screen and my voice and everything is set great and clear? Great. Thank you, Mai. Thank you for your feedback, and let's go. Let me see, why do I have two of them is opened here? Which one is the original one? Which one is not the one? Yeah, this is it. So, okay, guys, just during the presentation, because I go the full screen with my PowerPoint, I cannot see if you write anything in chat. So please, in case that I have disconnected or you don't cannot see my you cannot see my desktop or you cannot hear my voice, please just if someone can open their microphone and notice me, or you can just text me in the Telegram group. I will have access to Telegram group. If you can please text me there. So because I do cannot see the chat. Now, our workshop name was decoding or is decoding the black box post optimization analysis for architectural design. This workshop is held by me, Ghazal Javidan, and also my colleague Mahdiyar Smailbegi. These workshop sessions, we have 3 days, and each day we have two sessions. In the first day, we have two sessions that we explain in these sessions about evolutionary algorithm and optimization, both theoretical and practical. In the first session, we will go through what is a meta-heuristic optimization. We'll explain that all these meta-heuristic optimization are different from each other and why this is interesting to architects to use meta-heuristic optimization during all other optimization algorithms. And then we will focus on genetic algorithms. We will explain what is genetic algorithms, how we are going to use these algorithms, what is the framework, how the engine or the calculation is working in these algorithms. And then after we go through all the theoretical part to figure out and understand how these algorithms are working or digesting our data, then we will raise our workshop question, which is how we can monitor and control the form evolution in architectural design optimization process. Because as many of you works with optimization algorithms, you should notice that the optimization algorithm is just care about the numbers, the performance, or any data in the case in the format of numbering that you give them. And they do not pay any attention to the form unless you give them some numbers or some data or some digits from the form. So we want to know how we can control this process when we have attention, when we want to pay attention to our performance, how we can keep our eyes on the form while the performance is optimizing or getting better and better. Also, we want to know after an optimization, after we're running an optimization, how we can select the optimal solution, balancing both performance and architectural form attributes in an optimization problem. Because as again, many of you works with optimization algorithms, especially evolutionary ones, we can see that after you run an optimization, the result is just how the performance affecting each other. Like when you have a two performance, multi-objective optimization, when you have two performance, three performance, four performance, the result is how this performance decrease and the other performance increase, or how these two decrease and the third performance increase. How changing the form would affect decreasing or increasing, minimizing or maximizing the performances. But what about form? How I can figure out which form or which attribute in my form would affect different performances. Like when one of my performance is maximized, the other one is minimized. What happened to twist, or like what happened to the height in my form? That's what we are going to explore and figure out about it in this workshop. And after that, we will go, after going through all the theoretical things, we will go to decode the optimization black box. You know, the black box in the expression of the what we a black box in the airplanes. And this is an expression to use to say that when we have a plugin, when we have an algorithm in our workshop, when we are working with Galapagos, with Wallacey, with any plugin or any algorithm, when you give this algorithm an input, you should know what happened to your input, how the algorithm digests and analyze on your input, and then it will give you the output. It is not good enough to just give the input and get the output and assume that everything is worked perfectly, because it is not. If you don't know what happened in this black box, if you don't know how the black box, how the algorithm, how the plugin digest your data, how it analyzes your data and affect your data, then you cannot control that. You cannot check that or confirm that the output is correct. You know, because it is really interesting that in the Grasshopper, when you give any input to any optimization algorithm, you will get an output definitely, but it doesn't mean that the output is correct. So this is why I named the workshop Decoding the Black Box, because I said that the plugins or the optimization algorithm should not look like a black box. You should know what happened inside of it and understand how they integrate form variables with performance optimization during the whole framework. In this workshop, we will run some simulation and optimization problem using Galapagos, Wallacey, and Biomorpher. And after that, uh, tomorrow in our next session, we will introduce the one and only, the first plugin in Grasshopper that bring the whole Matplotlib charts and diagrams into the Grasshopper. If you are a Python user and if you know about Matplotlib library in Python, you should know how strong is this library and how useful is these parts in these charts and plots that we use in that library. So it is the first time that this plugin is introduced, and it will introduce with my colleague Mahtiyar Ismail Begi tomorrow, and it will go you through and will guide you through all these plots, all these different types of charts and plots, that what they are, how you can use them to analyze and categorize your data, and how this plugin can help you in data management of whatever you're designing in Grasshopper. This part is not restricted to optimization result. So if you are going to a digital fabrication, whether you're going to a huge urban design, data management, whatever you're designing in Grasshopper that needs data management, Giraffe can help you in that. And in the third session, we are going to in the third session, we are going to combine the ability of giraffe plots and chart with whatever we learn about optimization algorithms and we have in our optimization plugins to make an analyze sheet like these. These are the examples that we're going through, and also we'll ask participants to have their hands-on practice and to make their own analytic sheets of optimization and data management. So let's go through the workshop objectives. The workshop objectives are to explain evolutionary algorithms, to run an interactive optimization using genetic algorithms, to analyzing the data result of optimizations, and to learn how to go through data management in high dimensional data, and also to introduce the Giraffe plugin. And from the first stage, I should explain that the final participants' projects should be defining an optimization problem. This can be one of your own problems, like you have in your university. Maybe it's your dissertation, or maybe this is something at work. Or you can use the examples that we provided in the workshop. But you should define an optimization problem for yourself. You should run the optimization using one of the plugins that we are presenting in the workshop. And then you should go through analyzing the result of the optimization. You can either use the plugin components for analyzing the result, like the only you can use Policy, or you can use Giraffe. But I really recommend it that because it is really amazing. You will see it tomorrow. But we can use Giraffe, of course, for analyzing the result of your optimization. And then in the third day, on the Friday, I guess, yeah, the third day will be Friday. On the Friday, we are going to mentoring each person, or if you want to work in a group, we will going to mentor each group. We will answer the question. If you have any question on your own problems, or if you want to make a change to the examples that we are providing in the workshop and you want to run your own optimization problem, you want to use Giraffe for analyzing your optimization problem, whatever is your question, the third day, the Friday, is for that answering your questions, seeing how you work with the all the explanation that you will learn through the workshop and how you run your own problems. And the presentation of final analysis sheet will be up to the 1 week after the end of the workshop. So this Friday, our workshop is finished, and in the next Friday, you have 1 week long for uploading your final sheets. That just should something simple like the thing you have here. And then if you can in that stage, you will complete the workshop and will be eligible for getting your final certificate. Now, so the question is start from what is optimization? I want to start from this point because when you Google optimization in the different websites, the result will be that the optimization is an algorithm that will find the maximum or minimum of any function. While this describe is accurate, but it is not what we need exactly as an architect, because do not really work with any function. We work with forms, we work with designs. So when I said the optimization is finding maximum or minimum of a function, that may not really understandable by an architect. So what I want to say, maybe it is not a cure, it's more understandable that the optimization is finding the best choice. No matter that you want to choose a purse, no, you want to buy a couple of shoes, you want to buy a sunglass, or you want to have run a design. Optimization will help you or will let your design to choose the best choice between all of your alternatives. In the traditional design, architects are going for sketches or mocked up models. They will have multiple alternatives based on what they design by hand or what they made, mocked up like maquettes uh, based on their designs. But you know that in that era, in the traditional design era, before any parametric design optimization starts, before any parametric design tools release, we don't have many different alternatives in design because any architect, or just imagine a team of architects, how many alternatives they can design? Like 5, 10, 50, 100, not more than that. So we didn't have that lot of alternatives before. That's the reason that we can say that the optimization algorithm did not use in architectural design previously, previous to releasing the first parametric design tools, which was Grasshopper in Rhino. And now we have many other alternatives in parametric design tools. We have Dynamo in Revit. We have other sort of parametric plugins in Hyundai or in other softwares. But previously, we didn't have this much of alternatives in design. That's why the optimization is kind of new in architecture, while it has been used in other engineers field for a long, long time, like for maybe 100 years, or we can say like 70, 80 years. But in architecture, before having any parametric design tools, we did not have a huge alternatives. So we did not need to use optimization algorithms. That's what I want to mention. That when the question arises, when the needs show up, then the optimization algorithm came to architectural design. Today, with like 4 or 5 different parameters of a form, we can generate like 50, 100, 500, or even 1,000 different alternatives. And that's why now we need optimization to choose our best choice. As we said before, the focus of this workshop on optimization is on meta-heuristic optimization algorithms. And this is why the reason is that this is more attractive for especially architects and, of course, artists. The reason is that the meta-heuristic optimization algorithms are those optimization algorithms that inspired from the beings, from the human and animals in the nature. And that's why it is more familiar. That's why it is more understandable or simple to understand and apply. And we can say that's the reason that most of the architects and artists they are they have much more interest in meta heuristic optimization algorithms compared to other kind of algorithms. If you hear about these meta-heuristic algorithms like particle swarm, it is about how these huge flock of fishes or like birds, they can fly or swim together in a very, very big groups. They can make a target for themselves to travel very long or to swim in a very long direction. They will put the target, they will get the target, but they do not lose, they do not harm each other, they do not have accident with each other. Particle swarm is just try to is a kind of algorithm that mimicking the act of these huge folks that live together, work together, and like travel together, immigrate together. And ant colony is another algorithm of meta-heuristic algorithm. It is mimicking the act of ants, how they found food for themselves and how they, in kind of way, they how they make the other colleagues, make their other sister or brothers or cousin, the other folks, make other one to found the food for themselves. Or the B algorithm is similar to other algorithms. So meta-heuristic algorithms are that kind of algorithms that inspired their mechanism, inspired how they found the target, how they found the best choice from the human being or animals in the nature. What we are going to focus about is one of the very famous meta-heuristic optimization algorithms, namely evolutionary algorithms. Evolutionary algorithms inspired its uh, mm, framework from human evolution, or we can say being evolution. Let's see how these algorithms inspired. So, in answering the question of what are evolutionary algorithms, we should mention that the evolution is not something that first came by Darwin. This is what we all think, that Darwin was the first person that tell us about the evolution process, but this is not true. By the end of 18th century and in the beginning of 19th century, the evolution was known and accepted by many scientists. In those years, the evolution has been admitted and accepted by many scientists before Darwin. So they believe that the evolution is the change in the heritage characteristic of biological populations over the successive generation. What was not known before Darwin, what was in discussed before Darwin, was the reason of the evolution. So one of the very famous scientists before Darwin, that's named Lamarck, and he has a very big influence on explaining of the reason of evolution. He believed that the evolution happens because of the change in the life of the parents. On the other words, Lamarck's believe that when a man works a lot, like this man, get strong his muscle from his work, then his son inherited those strong muscles. So in this idea or in this theory, if parents do something, if a parents of a child do something very, very hard or very repeatedly, then his or her child will inherit those action or those works. Explaining about this theory is explaining about how the giraffe's neck get taller and taller. As Lamarck says, when the trees are growing taller and taller, then the giraffe trying to stretch his neck to get more leaf. And while this giraffe is stretching his neck, when he born a children, when he born a girl or a boy, when he born a child, his or her child will have a little longer neck. And while this one trying to reach to upper leaf, to the upper branch of the tree to have more food and is stretching his neck, again, the other generation will have a bit of longer neck, and then another generation, and then another generation. Today, we know that this theory is not correct. Giraffes does not grow their neck taller because they're stretching their neck. We know that children do not inherit their parents based on what their parents do. So if someone work hard and have a very good muscle, it doesn't mean that his or her children will have a good muscle the same as him or her. So, the point that I want to mention is that evolution is not something that's brought by Darwin. It's not a theory that brought by Darwin. But what Darwin do is to explain why the evolution happens or how the evolution happens. Now let's see what Darwin sees and how what he add to this theory. The Darwin theory known as natural selection. It says that the natural selection is why the evolution happening. Darwin was a scientist that traveled a lot, and what he witnessed, what he see in his different travels, in his different experience in different cities and different islands, and one of the famous island he went to, as you know, as you may know, is Galapagos, and that's why the David wrote a name his first plugin in genetic algorithm. He named that Galapagos. That name came from Darwin's famous travel to that very special island. So Darwin sees that, like in some lands, there are many rabbits, some brown rabbits and some white rabbits. He see that when the where the desert, when there is a less vegetation in the desert, when there is a less vegetation, the amount of white giraffe decrease and decrease. But next to that desert, next to that area, there is a jungle that has many huge vegetation, many huge trees and vegetation. In that jungle, there are lots of both brown and white rabbits. The question arose to him that what happened in this desert that we don't see many white rabbits in the desert, while exactly next to the desert in the jungle, we see many rabbits there. And he found the answer of this question that because in the desert there is no vegetation, there is no tree, there is not lots of high growth grass, so the white rabbits are more exposed to the eagles. There are lots of eagles there. The white rabbits are more exposed to the eagles, so they can hunt white rabbits more easily in compared to brown rabbits because the brown rabbit's color are so similar to desert sand and rocks. So the eagles see the white rabbits more, hunt them more. So they do not have the chance to replicate. Their white rabbits do not have enough time to have children and growth and replicate themselves in the desert. But in the jungle, because eagles cannot see them very easily, this is similar. Both the brown rabbits and the white rabbits can give birth to the children and can reproduce or replicate their generation. So, have witnessed some of these examples together came to the very good theory that now we know about the natural selection. So, remember the example we say about the Lamarck? He said that because this giraffe stretch his neck, his or her child will have a little larger neck. But this is how Darwin explained that. Darwin said, imagine two giraffes, one with larger neck and one with shorter neck. They live in a jungle. After a while, the environmental change make the trees larger, or the leaf of the lower branches are eaten by the other giraffes. Now, the leaves are on the tall trees and on the higher level of what they used to be. In this case, those giraffes with shorter necks, they do not survive. They die of starving. And those giraffes who has longer necks, they will survive. And they have more time to have children, to get married, to replicate their generation. And after years and years, this cycle will continue. The leaf of the lower branches, they are finished. So the giraffe with larger necks can survive because they can have leaf from the higher branches. And giraffe with shorter necks, they cannot survive. So this is the reason that we see years after years we can see that the neck of the giraffes are taller. This is not because they stretch it, because this is because the giraffes with shorter necks, they die. They could not have enough food and they could not replicate their generation. So, what Darwin called this cycle is natural selection. It said the fittest will survive. Those which can be more compatible with their environment, with their needs, they will survive and they will have time to replicate their generation. And those that are not compatible with their environment, they will die. So that is why we say that like giraffes have longer legs, or this is how evolution go through all beings in the nature. So Now that we know how the evolution cycle is working, after a while, the scientists get these algorithms, these simple algorithms from the evolution cycle because they think so if from hundreds of years these cycles happened in the nature and it will choose the best option based on the environment, the best choice of animals, of humans, based on the environment, based on their adaptability to the environment. So why we can use the same rule, why we can use the same framework for choosing our best solution between anything else that we want to go through. So the evolutionary cycle is based on the same evolutionary cycle that we explain here. It will start with a population. This population will evaluate based on a fitness function, based on an objective. Like here, the fitness function was the height of the tree branch. Those that can reach this height will survive, and those that cannot reach this height will die. So we need to define an evolutionary, evaluationary function, and then evaluate the population based on this evaluation function. And based off this, the fittest one will select it and will make the new parents. This one that is selected is the new parents of the new generation that are made in here. So they use these new parents to make new offspring or new children's or new solutions. And these new offspring solutions or children will replace the previous population. Each time we go through this cycle, one generation will mate. So the older population will go through this and replace with the new population. One cycle named one generation. The question that arises here is that, okay, so we know that the whole cycle, how it happened. The question is sometimes we see that, like in this specific example, we have some giraffes that has very tall necks. They married or like recombined with other giraffes with very tall necks, but still we see that their child does not have a long neck as long as his parents. We can see that even in our own life. We can see that the children are not exactly the similar to our parents. Not even their hair color, not even their eyes. In the most of the time, they are similar. But we can have many questions, many examples that they are not similar. So how we can explain that if the cycle will choose those one that is fittest, how come that these two fit giraffes married, make children, and the children are not the same as they are? Darwin actually could not answer that question because the genetic science was not developed enough to answer this question in that era. But after a while, genetic science improved and figure out that there is something happen in all of the beings called mutation. The genetic science said that we have many cells and each cell has chromosome and each chromosome has a DNA, and how our DNA matches together, the way they match together, this is how we inherited the our we inherited what we inherit from our parents. We know that sometimes we have some mutation even in our own child, in human being child, and the child have totally different like hair color, eyes color, or even maybe totally different mental abilities compared to his parents. We know that mutation is unavoidable. Maybe we cannot exactly explain how it is happened, but what we know is that it is unavoidable. Sometimes it happens to any child, any child of human or other beings. So now that we know what happened, that even when we choose the fittest one, some of the results are not what we expected because of the mutation, we can fulfill what we want from the an evolutionary algorithm. Let's get back to our stories. There are some giraffes with tall necks and short necks living in a jungle. This is our initial population. After a while, the leaf of the lower branches are finished and the leaves are going to the upper branches. So those giraffes with the longer necks are survive because they can stretch and have the leaf from the other branches, upper branches. But those giraffes with shorter necks could not survive. So the long-necked giraffes are getting married, having child, replicate their generation. But here, okay, oh, I didn't know what happened, but let's get back here. But here we should notice something that crossover, which means mating, means having children. It is not the only way that the new generation will replicate it. We also have some mutation. So it is not that always the fittest one will born the fittest child. It is not also that the fittest solution in our case, in our architectural design, it is not that always our fittest solution is exactly what we want. So we know that the mutation is as the same that mutation happens in the nature, the mutation should happen in our own algorithm, in our own genetic algorithm. And also the crossover means the mating, means making new children exactly the same as their parents. And mutation means making new children that is not exactly the same as their parents. But this is the complete evolutionary cycle. So this is how an evolutionary cycle is happening. And this is exactly the framework of any evolutionary algorithm. Now let's see what is genetic algorithm. Genetic algorithm is one of the evolutionary algorithms. As we say, this is the evolutionary cycle. Using this cycle in different algorithms have different names. Like using this cycle in this algorithm, evolutionary strategies, genetic algorithm, and genetic programming are different kind of evolutionary cycle. They are just differ in this part. You know that we are working with numbers, and numbers cannot marry and have children. So we need to replicate, we need to mimic the mutation and crossover that happens in the nature with some mathematical function. This is how these different evolutionary algorithms are differ from each other. They use different kind of function for recombination, for mutation, for making new children, and also different kind of selection based on the evaluation fitness function. So just to mention that the evolutionary cycle is same in all different evolutionary algorithms, and our focus is on genetic algorithms, one of the very most famous and interesting evolutionary algorithms. Now, what is genetic algorithm? Genetic algorithm is developed by John Holland and in 1960s and 1970s, in the late 19th, and is a model of abstraction of biological evolution based on Charles Darwin's theory of natural selection. And how it works exactly the way that we describe. A population of possible solutions is first created, then children's offspring solutions. These are different terms that you can see in different algorithms. Anywhere, even in different plugins, we use different terms. So all of them means the same. They are created based on the initial population using crossover and mutation function. Then each solution being scored using a fitness function. If you remember, the fitness function in our particular example was the leaf, the tree branch height. So based on that, they will score, and after that, the next generation is resulting based off the scoring. And then the whole cycle will repeated and repeated to generate the other generation. Now that we know everything about evolutionary cycle, we know everything about genetic algorithm, and we know how it works, the last theoretical thing that we need to know is that this optimization matrix. The question is now how we can define an optimization problem. For defining an optimization problem, you need to define these four topic in your optimization matrix. The first one is, what is the objective? What is the goal of your optimization? Do you want to, like in this particular example, you see that the daylighting, like be our the goal of our optimization is where should I put these windows and how much should the dimension be so I can have the best like daylighting in my interior. So we should define what is our objective, what are we going to maximize or minimize. Do I want to have the most daylighting I can have, or do I want to have the minimum daylighting I can have? Then we need to define variables. What would affect the different daylighting? Is it about the dimension of the windows? Is it about the location of these windows? Is it about the orientation of my building? So, after defining the objective or the goal, we should define what is the variable. What are the variables that are affect this objective? And after that, we should define the fitness function. We know the variables now, and we know that I want to like maximize the daylighting. So, what should I calculate? How should I calculate daylighting? What are the factors? What are the values that shows me the daylighting, and I want to maximize or minimize? And finally, the phenotype. This is the terms that you see somewhere it says phenotype, somewhere you see solutions. Both of them means the form. The form, like in our particular example, it means the giraffe. The giraffe is our phenotype. Their head, the tallness of their neck is our like variable. This is what change in different giraffe. So it is our variable. The height of the tree branches. This is our fitness function, and the objective is like to have a higher necks, to have longer necks, so we can feed these poor giraffes. So this is the end of our theoretical part. Now you know what is optimization. You know why we use this, why we use optimization in architectural design, and you know what is genetic algorithms. You know about evolutionary cycle, and now you know how to define an optimization problem theoretically. Now let's get back to Grasshopper. Let's go to have some hands-on practice and see how we can go through all this theoretical in the practice. Okay, great. Now, do you have any question? Is everything is clear? Is anything you need more explanation? I will be more happy to explain more. Now, let me check the chat box and see do I miss anything here. Okay, we see one more introduction from Hamid that we can read, and one more introduction from Tuka. Welcome to our workshop. Yes, I will share the record, and yes, yeah, these are the feedbacks. Okay, Alex asked what plugins Walicy Biomorpher Giraffe we will use today. Today we will use Walicy, Galapagos, Walicy, and hopefully Biomorpher. Yes. Yes, exactly. Galapagos and Wallasey will use today. If we had more time, we will go by biomorpher. If we didn't have, we will go through biomorpher tomorrow. That's great. Thank you, Saper, for your feedback and completely useful, Tinon. Thank you. Thank you. Everything was clear. Thank you, Ghazal. You're welcome. Thank you. And thank you. Great. Great that it is clear for all of you. Now let's go to Grasshopper. It said cannot minimize this. So how can I find my desktop here? And let me open my Rhino and Grasshopper and start our first practice there. I am waiting for my Rhino to open. There we go. It's so slow. I can't figure out really why, but let's ignore it. Okay, it is open now, and let's go for the first example. I'm coming back here to share my screen again, and let's go. Can you just give me the feedback that can you see my screen here? So,
Yes.
yeah, thank you. Thank you. And let's go through our first example here. Let me delete this sort of things I have here, not make it very busy and very fluffy. Great. So our first example is based on an imaginary fabrication lab. Let me close the preview of all of them and just open this one. I want to start over for this first one, and then for the rest of them, I will copy the same algorithm there and will add more complexity to our optimization. Now, imagine this is a fabrication lab. This is the area of our fabrication lab. These rectangles here, these are our machines, different machines we have here, like CNC machines, laser cutting, or any other 3D printing, or any other thing that you may have in your university fabrication lab or anywhere else. And this surface, this green surface, is the area that I want to put a table in that. Want to put a table here. And now the question is that where can I put this table to be most close to all of the machines that are here? I mean, where is the point? Which one is the point in this area that has the same access or has the closest access to all of these machines around my fabrication lab area? Of course, I do not mean that I want to be close to each of them simultaneously. I don't want to be like the dimension of the distance from this table to this machine. It should be same as this one. I don't mean that. I mean that I want to have the mean. Want to have the mean of distance to all of them. The mean of distance to all of these machines, I want to be the same. So again, the question is, my objective is, my goal is to minimize the length of or the distance of this table to all of its surrounding machines. So it's better to say the distance. All set. Now, I want to see that how can I make the algorithms for running this kind of optimization. Let's first use evaluate surface to find the potential points that my table can be set on. I want to parameterize these and then use an empty slider, okay, to see all the potential points that we may have here. So you can see this node. Let me delete this one. So you can see this node is moving around this surface. These are all the potential points that I can put my table in them on this. Now, I want to see how much is the distance between these points to the center point of my machines. If you remember, these rectangles were my machines. And now I want to, from the center point of them, here, this is the center point of all of them. Now, I want to see how much is the distance of each of these points to the potential point of my table. It gives me a list of distance, but for better visualization, I prefer to use line here. Now, if I get the length of each of these lines, I can have the distance of my potential table to each of these machines. Now, let's do this. So instead of using distance, I use line because it is better in visualization. And then I use length, and it's the same. So this is the distance of my table to each of these surrounding machines. What I want to know, as I said here, the objective is to minimize this distance. So that's so crystal clear, yeah? We want to minimize this length. But since we have multiple lengths, I want just to sum up these lengths. So I will use math addition here. Now I have summed up all of these lengths and got a single number, and this is my objective. This is this is the distance that I want to minimize or minimum. Now, let's use our simplest plugin named Galapagos for minimizing distance. As we said before, let's get back to optimization matrix. We know that our objective is minimizing the distance. We know our fitness function is calculating the length because how we want to minimize this, we calculate the length. So this is how we got the our objective here. This is our fitness function because we calculate the length of things. So this is our fitness function. This is our objective, minimizing the length, where it goes. This is our objective. And this is how we want to run an optimization. Now, let's take a look at Galapagos and see how it works. We should input genomes that you know not now that it means the variables and also the fitness objective to the Galapagos, and then it will run an optimization for you. First, see if I can add the genomes. You should drag the output here, like if you should click on the genome and drag the line here to match it to what you want. But you can see it cannot catch the MD slider. This is the first point that you should mention, that I should mention here, that if you want to run an optimization in your algorithms, from the first point, you should remember that you cannot have something like MD slider or graph mapper as variable, as genes. You see here, genes are our variable, and these are the XY location that we have here. But we cannot run an optimization using MD slider, graph mapper, anything other than numbers, anything other than digits. So if I want to run an optimization, I cannot use MD slider. What I can do is to use a gen pool here. I want to replicate, I want to produce a, uh, let's make it 2. I want to produce just a simple point here. And since it is reparameterizes, it should be from 0 to 1. Let's use this one. And now I can have my points here, X and Y, and there we go. Now I can input these digits, these numbers to my optimization problem. This is the first thing that you should always pay attention to, that optimization algorithms only accept digits and numbers, no graph mapper, no MD slider, no geometry, nothing rather than digits. Now I input this one, again, drag and put the wire here. And also my objective or my fitness is this stance, which I want to minimize. Now, all set. Let's see how the Galapagos is going to work here. Let's take a look at these different options in Galapagos we have. You can set the optimization algorithm to maximize or minimize. If you push this button, it will go for maximization, and this one, it will go for minimization. Well, obviously, we want to go for minimization. So we can go for minimization here. The threshold, I will explain it later after we go a little advanced on optimization. And here, the runtime limit and maximum duration, this is something that you just see in Galapagos. We don't have something similar to this in other plugins or even other algorithms, I can say. This is because the Galapagos is not asking you how many generation do you want me to evolve? How many generation do you want me to create for you? If you remember, each cycle is one generation. And Galapagos is not going to ask you how many generation it wants. This is, I don't know, maybe what David Rutten prefer to write his algorithm. But this is how you can say that how many generation I want. You cannot set this by number, but you can just make a duration for it. You can set like run my optimization for 1.5 hours, no matter how many generation happen to them. But there's another thing that you can control the number of generation, and this is the maximum stagnant. Maximum stagnant is a little complicated uh, thing to explain, and also it is exactly the thing that you only can see in Galapagos. So it doesn't matter if you really don't understand how it works, because you're not going to see that anywhere rather than Galapagos. But just to mention is that the maximum stagnate is another controlling tools to control the number of generation, and it says that the way it works is that it will calculate the similarity of each generation. In a simple word, it will calculate that if the new generation is exactly the same as the previous generation. In other words, if in the new generation that the algorithm make for you, do we have any new solution different from the previous generation? If we don't have a new solution, how many generations should I continue? Like put it in 50 or 20 or 10. Let's put it on 10. So it says that if you made a new generation and it does not have any new solution comparing to its past generation, just go 10 more generation and stop. I said, this is really not that logical, I think, and is not really important to understand it exactly. If you don't want to work with these, or if you are not so advanced in optimization, I really recommend you to keep them as they are. But if you just want to figure out what is it, David Rosen explained things much better than me in his own blog. I eat bugs for breakfast. This is the name of his own blog, and there are many posts there that explain how he writes Galapagos and how it works regarding different problems definition. So let's go to other part. Population is the population of your generation. If you remember, how many giraffe do you want to have in each generation? It is so regular. To put it in on 50. And the initial puts, it's something that again works with the randomness, because the first generation is so random, because we in the very first generation is in the very first steps, we don't know which one is better than other one. It's just totally select the population randomly. So because this is so random, sometimes we boots the first generation. We said all of our generation want to have 50, but for the first generation, like double the size. Like choose 100 giraffe, and then between them, choose the best 50 and then go for 50 for other generation. Again, this is not something that you see anywhere or in other plugins, but this is what we see in Galapagos. And the last part is maintain and inbreeding. Maintain means, if you remember, we have two functions to mutate and to crossover. Maintains means how many solution you want to go to the next generation without any change. Remember, we have 50 giraffes. They are our parents. We made children from them. It will say, do you want me to just pass some of the parents, some of the best parents, or some of them to the next generation without having any child or with even with their own child? This is how maintain is how uh, maintain function run here. And inbreeding means having child. Inbreeding means crossover. So based on its initial numbers, it said that it will maintain 5% of the whole population and inbreeding from the other rest, from the 75% of the other population. Now let's go to the solver and see how we can run here. Remember that the Galapagos has two solvers. One of them is evolutionary solver, which use genetic algorithm, and the other one is simulate annealing. It's a totally different optimization algorithm. So for now, we just keep sure that the evolutionary solver is on, and then we run the solver here. Since the first generation is totally random, and since the algorithm will use random mutation, I recommend you to run any genetic algorithm optimization multiple times to make sure that it not maintained in some local optimums. Now, I run it like for 10 times to make sure that this is exactly the best solution it can get. And there we go. I think we are keep getting the same solution in our results. And here you can see the solution. This is how it says that, like, in the generation number 32, the best solution that I can found is has the fitness of 371. And if you want to see that in the Rhino viewport, you just push the reinstate. Let's see something else. Like here in generation number 22, this is what it got. Or let's go for this one. You see, these are the different solution in different generation that it found for us that we can reinstate here. One of the very bad things that I can said about the Galapagos is that, unfortunately, when you close this tab, if I just push the OK button, you will lose all of these datas. And also, there is no way that you can get any PDF, any JPEG, anything from this component. The only thing that you can get in the record tabs here, if it is open, here you can see a report of the whole process. Like this is generation number 2. And the biodiversity is something that is calculated in Galapagos. No other plugins are calculating biodiversities. But you see that the genome number 0 has this fitness, the genome number 1 has this fitness, and also the rest of optimization are record here. You can just simply copy all of these here, copy, and paste them to a text file. This is the only thing that you can get out of Galapagos. This is really pity because it's a really good, simple, and straightforward optimization component, but doesn't work as well as we expected. Now I push the OK button, getting back here, minimization, and you can see nothing is safe in here. So this is the simplest type that we can define and run an optimization problem. Let's get back to this this example. So this example 1, we're going to minimize distance, and it was a continuous problem. What does it mean by continuous? What am I mean by continuous problem? It is because that the variable are continuous in our problem. Continuous means that when we have variable, one of our points, like imagine this point is, uh, it's like the point number 1. It has x1 and x2 here, x1 and y1, y1. Let me just make it better. When we have here, this is our x and this is our y, and this is point number 1 or 0. When we have 0.27 in x, algorithm can be assured that if it multiply or minus a very small amount from this, it will have the next solution exactly in the close location to the first one. We will have 0.28 and also 0.26. This is called a continuous solution area or a continuous design area. How we can discrete it, how we can run a discrete solution, discrete optimization. Let's go for this. Again, we have this one here, we have our curves, we have our surface, and this time instead of using evaluate surface, we use a 2D population. Let's see how it is differ. Okay, what was our fitness? Let's run this one again and keep the fittest result that it can find for us to compare this with the other one. Good. So this is the fittest result that the first continuous algorithm could found for us. Now let's see what happened when we discrete algorithm. We can see here that we do not have these points anymore. So if this is the optimum of this problem, when we make our solution area, when we make our search area discrete, we will not reach the best solution anyway. This is the very important difference between discrete optimization and continuous optimization. So remember, if your solution area, if your searching area in any optimization is discrete, is not continuous, you should consider that you may not get the best solution every time. You may not found the best choice or found the optimum one because you do not give the algorithm to choose this point. You see, these are our points. Let's go through this and figure out what's happening here. And then we can compare this one with our first one, with our continuous one. So again, this is the next one. This is our machine, this is our surface, and this time, instead of use evaluate surface, I use populate 2D to have just some random points here. And I want to change the seed for better visualization. I want to change the seed to get as far as I can from the optimum. Here you can see. Now we can see here that my points are here, here, here. And from the previous solution, you see that the optimum is here. So I cannot get to optimum when I'm going for discrete optimization. But if this is our only chance, you can see that we were going to get very close to it. Like the algorithm will choose this one or this one as the optimum. Let's see how it goes. So for making this solution area, I need what I need yes, item selection based on some random, and since it is reparameterized or not really matter here that reparameterize the surface, but I have 100 points, so the domain of my points is 0 to 100. And let's just change the seeds here. So this algorithm would select each of these points once a time. So when I change this seed, you can see that various points are selected here. These are my discrete points, yeah? And the rest is the same. So I want to have the line between the center of my machines to this. This is my new solution area. You see how it changed? And then I need to found the length. I need to go for mass addition. And again, run for minimization. This is the distance, and I want to go minimize. Now, let's check that everything is works correctly. This is our final distance, and if I choose different points, as you can see here, different distance is given from my calculation. That's great. Let's again use Galapagos. And this time my genome is how I choose different points, because this is not like the previous one. In the previous one, we have a continuous solution area that we can choose. Oh, I should not move that one. Now I should run this again very, very fast. Okay, minimization, solver, run. Great. Now this is my optimum solution here that I want to compare with my new algorithm. Let's just go run this one as fast as the previous one. Solver, evolutionary algorithm, show me all, and start the solver. Oh, I run that again. This one. Solver, start. Okay, something is would not be found. Something is wrong here, and I don't know the result. Aha, I forgot to add the fitness here. There we go. So this is our variable that choose different points for us, and this is our fitness, which is the sum addition of the distances. I may can run this time, hopefully. Nothing wrong goes happening, and there we go. And you see that I think we go for maximization. Yes, yeah, that's true. Go for minimization. Okay. Now let's look at the result. This is the result of this one, and that is the result of that one. You see, they are so close, but not exactly the same. So this is what I want to show here, that the way that you define the solution area will affect the result of your optimization. This is a very, very simple optimization problem, very simple algorithm that you can mention how different the optimum and the semi-optimum is. But when you go through very difficult or complicated optimization with very large algorithms, when you use very huge computation, it is a bit difficult to figure out if you got the best optimum one, if you got the exact optimum solution, exact optimum result or not. So I really recommend you to pay attention to these difference, discrete and continuous solution area, and how you define your solution areas. Let's go a little faster for our next example. The next example is exactly similar to the two first one, but a bit twisted. Here, we want to try a weighted sum optimization. If you remember, we have multiple lines here. These are our machines, and this is our fabrication lab area. This time, I want to I want my table to have maximum distance from this machine and minimum distance to the rest of them. So I separate the one of these machines, and I want my table to have the maximum distance from this specific machine and to have minimum distance to the rest of them. Now, You can tell me that we want to have minimum distance from these lines and maximum distance from these specific machines. Now, do you think this is a multi-objective optimization? We can say yes and we can say no. We can go through Policy or any more complicated plugin and algorithm to run this optimization as a multi-object optimization, or we can see that these two objectives are so much in relative. You see that when I go farther from this one, I will go closer to other ones, and vice versa here. So if the exact amount of the distance is not matter for me, is just I want the location, maybe we can do something that this turn to a single objective optimization. This is how I can explain. Imagine this is X and this is Y, or better, this is A and this is B. So the distances that I want to minimum is my objective number A, and the distance that I want to maximum is my objective B. Do you agree if and here I said that I want to minimize A, minimize this distance, and maximize this one. Now, do you agree with me that if I want to maximize B, this is exactly similar to I minimize 1 over B here. So if you agree with me, I can rewrite my optimization like this. I can say A plus 1 over B should be minimized. So by changing my fitness function or by writing a new fitness function, by combining my two objectives, I can turn a multi-objective optimization to a single one. This is when the exact amount of this distance and this distance is not important for me. What is important is the location of the table. So when just the result and just the location of table is important for me, it is better to simplify my problem and do not go for a multi-objective optimization for something simple like this. Can you tell me another way of make these multi-objectives to one objectives? I can tell something else. You can tell me if you have any suggestion here. But what if I told you in this function y minus a, oh, sorry, this is not y, this is a. So b minus a. Do you think I should maximize or minimize this function to get the similar result as the previous function? So I want to maximize b and I want to minimize a. So the whole function should be maximized. This is how we can write differently a similar, a same optimization problem. So let's go from beginning. It was looks for the it was seems like a multi-object optimization, but since the result is just important for me, and since these objectives are so relative, so I try to rewrite the optimization problem as a single objective optimization instead of going for multi-objective optimization. These problems are called weighted sum. If you hear about weighted sum optimization, because you can add weight to this one, like you can add alpha here, you can add beta here, which one is more important there for you, which one you want the algorithm to pay attention more or look more for that objective. So you can add some weighted to these functions and also add some weighted to this function. But the important point that when you have a multi-objective optimization, consider that maybe you can rewrite in a simple way and maybe you can run for a much more simple optimization by writing it in a weighted sum or or rewrite it into uh, other kind of functions. There is another function that we can write here. I will wait till the end of the session to see if anyone can figure out what is the other way that we can combine these two objectives together. And go for our last simple example, and then we will have like 5-10 minutes rest, and then we will go for policy and biomorpher, and we'll optimize form we will go from 2D to 3D spaces, which is, I think, more attractive than 2D. And the last but not the least optimization problem is something that you should solve, and you have time until Friday to say if you can solve this one, or not. This is exactly similar to our first optimization problem. You say this is our machines, this is our surface, and this is again continuous problem. This is the best way of defining an optimization problem, continuous optimization problem. The twist that I add to this is that we have an obstacle here. We can see it here better. Let's go to the shaded here. You see, there is an obstacle here. And I want to tell you, can you rewrite these optimization algorithms? Can you add a constraint or penalty function to this super simple optimization definition to avoid this obstacle from the way that you calculate the location of the table? I mean, I want that the location of the table avoid this obstacle. I don't want the location to be on this. And also, I want to have a penalty function that these lines do not have any collision with these obstacles. So, do you think you can add a penalty function or add any constraint, or how you can add a constraint to this simple optimization problem to avoid setting your table on this obstacle or having any collision? These lines have any collision to the obstacle. Just let us know tomorrow or the day after tomorrow if you can solve this problem on your own, or if I need to go for more explanation. So this is our first session on theoretical and super simple optimization problems, just to figure out how it works. And this is all we do with Galapagos, because it does really not have very capacity for very complicated optimization. And also the thing that I really don't like about it is that it is like so selfish. It does not give you any information out. You cannot have any JPEG, any PDF, anything from this. You can just see and read the information, but you cannot get anything out of this. And also, when you close the plugin, everything goes. So if you close it accidentally, you will lose everything. So that's all we are going to do with Galapagos in this workshop, and these super simple examples that we want to explain the optimization with them. Next session, we will explain how Pareto front and multi-objective optimization will calculate it. We will go through optimizing some different forms using Walacy and Biomorpher. Thank you so much. Let me get back here. If you have any question, just let me know. Otherwise, we will go for a quick rest and we'll be back soon for our next session. So any question?
Hi, will we
Hi.
also get the files that you show us?
Sure. I will upload all of them for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other question? Yes, I will bear. Yes, I will share the GH file. Don't worry about it.
Can I ask a little bit more about the Galapagos itself?
Sure.
Uh, in the window within the Galapagos, when the generation was running, there was on the bottom left side of the Galapagos itself, it shows some dots. Can you explain like what's the meaning of those
Sure.
visualization?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Thank you for asking. Let me just share and explain more about that one too. Share my screen again. Okay. Let's again get back to our first example, run the Galapagos and explain about those dots or solutions that you see in the Galapagos example. Okay. Let me set up my screen a little bit. And there we go. I want to see this one. I want to see this one. There we go. And also let me show the lines too. Great. Now let's run the optimization again because there we will have those solutions and I can explain minimization, solver, start. If you can see here that it's about displaying the all genomes in the Rhino viewport. It say that if you want to see all the generation in the Rhino viewports, if you want to see half of them or the important one, or if you just don't want to see, so the speed would be higher. But I always choose to see them because it is interesting for me. Now, let's talk about these little dots. These are some very special diagrams that David Rutten add to his plugins. These black dots that you see, the whole of these dots, both black dots and both these red crosses, they are all the population. The red cross that you see are those population that could not survive. They do not survive and do not go to the next generation. And the black dots are those who goes to next generation. Why I did not explain this? Because this is something like some special rules that David Rutten write for himself. There is no other data that which generation it is, uh, what solution are these, what is the number of this solution, what is the amount of this solution, what is the genome or variables of this solution. There is no other explanation about this. I can just tell you like, okay, this is the generation number 28. These red cross did not survive. These black dots are survive. But what are these black box? They are not selectable. You see, I'm trying to double click on them and I cannot select them. So this is mostly something that David Rutter want to put this for himself, or maybe some secret things that he know just about it. But there is no more information it will give you. So this is why I don't go through the explanation of these dots. It's just something like for visualization that how the different population are survive, how they go to the next generation, how they don't go. This is mostly visualization rather than information.
Thank you.
So is that it? You're welcome. You're welcome. Any other questions while we're opening the Galapagos? Okay. I assume there's no more question. Thank you. Thank you, Fatima. Thank you. Okay, let's have like 5, 6, 7 minutes of rest. And then we will get back here and we'll go through some more complicated optimization in Policy and biomorpher. We'll go through form and we'll raise our workshop question. We will question you about the form and how these plugins will control the form. Is there any form control we can find in these plugins? So see you in like 10 minutes.